It's day 40 of this sweet onion slices growing experiment. As you can see, there's been some growth. I had to change this once. The first time you put any tuber in hydroponics solution, it appears that it clouds up with mold, and that's exactly what's going on with the sunchoke series right now. And I'm going to change the water in that after I'm done filming this. I changed the water once, added in hydrogen peroxide. That also helped to dilute the Miracle-Gro singles fertilizer, which I felt was too concentrated. So these roots look really healthy now. The tips are brown. I think that's just naturally the way they are. They were sort of brown before, but now it's more pronounced. These root balls had a lot of rotting mass in them, and all that hydrogen peroxide exposure seems to have clean that out. So I'm going to do a little demo and pour out some of this water and show you how I handle this stuff. Alright, so I'm in the sink right now. I'm going to let the water run a little bit. So I pour out a lot of this fertilizer to reduce the over-fertilization, which may burn the leaves eventually. And I'm going to rinse these under tap water and put them back. And they still smell a little bit rancid because they have that rotting mass from before. You know, all that mold decomposing the nasty stuff around the root ball. And the smell is much lessened from before, but it's still there. So I'm going to try to get all these roots at the bottom, and that looks good. And I'll also rinse the outside of the cup and wipe it with tissue afterwards. Alright, the cup is largely empty now. The leaves have been washed. Everything's nice and going to be really fresh. So how much you want to add of everything is completely arbitrary. That's what I'm doing these days. And here comes the 3% hydrogen peroxide solution. So, you know, I don't want it to touch the green part of the leaves, but I figure going up to there, that's a good start. And I haven't measured the foliage, so I don't know how much that's growing, but everything looks fine so far. I mean, there were these leaf tips that got burned a little bit, but I figured that was due to over-fertilization. Let me focus again. And, you know, that's got a lot of hydrogen peroxide in there. It's starting to fizz again, but it's not as violent as it was before because I think most of the decomposing, disgusting mass is gone. Hydrogen peroxide is great for neutralizing nasty odors. So I expect all the smells to be gone, you know, by a certain amount of time, maybe with this water changing. Alright, it's late afternoon, day 61 of this Sweet Onion series. I know I haven't filmed for a very long time, but I decided to start using natural light again on this old weight training bench. You know, this lux meter here, it can get up to 55,000 lux on a good day. It's so bright, it's really hard for me to show you, but you know, right now it's only getting 15, 16, 17,000 lux, sort of the same amount it would be getting just from being close to these lights. You know, it cooled down a little bit, but for a while it was really hot, like summer. And these leaf tips are dying. You know, I think the whole hydroponics amateur approach wasn't working. I know I wasn't really doing any of this right, but the water gets cloudy after a few days, then I have to switch it out. So I'm tired of all this. You know, I'm going to transplant this into some of that new potting mix that I bought, but I'm going to have to heat sterilize everything first because I don't want fungus gnats and spider mites along with springtails. So I'll be breaking open bags of that stuff and heating it in the oven, wait for it to cool down, and then I'll put it in a small pot. Alright, so I bought some of this Miracle-Gro moisture control potting mix. It says it protects against over and under watering feeds for up to 6 months. So it's got fertilizer in it. Grow plants twice as big, blah, blah, blah. You know, so it says select a pot with a drain hole. Fill a pot about 1/3 full with this. Loosen the root ball, put it in, add more mix, press lightly, water from the top at first. I have these bottom watering pots, and I'm just going to use these. I washed these out from 2014. So here's a bigger one. So based on my experience, you shouldn't let this potting mix just sit there forever either. It's gonna start spawning fungus gnats if you don't do anything with it. So yeah, I like these smaller packs because they're more manageable, easier to get in and out of your car. And unlike the big ones, they don't have this huge mass of soil that you'll never use, just spawning fungus gnats, as long as the soil is damp. So I basically want to try to sterilize as much of this as I can per batch, so I don't have to keep doing it over and over. And I'm probably going to sterilize it, cool it down, and transfer all of the unused stuff to like a garbage bag or something fresh, so I don't have any contamination with fungus gnats, spider mite, springtail eggs. So yeah, I'm just going to put that in the oven, give it a whirl. Alright, here's my oven. I have my potting mix in the aluminum tray. There's plenty of space. And I'm going to turn up the temperature to 350 Fahrenheit. We let it bake for an hour to make sure I kill everything in there. Alright, it's day 62. I have my sterilized soil here. I'm going to fill this 1/3 of the way. Maybe a little more since these onions are pretty shallow. So I just washed these in tap water. It was getting cloudy again. Looked to be pretty beat up, in bad shape. But I have hope that they'll recover in this new soil with no interference from me. You know, just changing conditions all the time, suboptimal conditions. I'm just going to top that off with more dirt and press them in and adjust the positions. Alright, I feel like that's enough for now. And I'm just going to pour in some distilled water. I want to adulterate this soil. And it's super loose, so it's going to make all the soil wave around like an earthquake when I pour in water. But you know, I don't need to be too serious about the watering in the beginning. That's going to be fine for a really long time, I feel.